for the dough.
Good afternoon and happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to beautiful Gulfstream Park West. I'm Acacia Courtney here with Ron Nicoletti. 9 races on the card today. Lots of great, exciting action as always.
Boy, has the weather really turned nice over the last few days. We're going to start with a fast main track and a firm turf course. But I want to remind everybody, if you want to get some really nice simulcast action, you got to head over to Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, all amenities and simulcast available across town at Gulfstream Park. We'll be here for the whole Gulfstream Park West meet, but everything you could possibly want cross town over there.
Cross town over there, but we have, as I mentioned, a 9-race card this afternoon, so let's cruise through the wagering menu. And if we have 7 more runners in a field, we have the rolling super high five, so we'll be starting it in race number 1 this afternoon. And I know you have an early pick 5 ticket, too.
I do. Also in race number 1 starts the early pick 5. That's just a 50-cent wager. I've been knocking on the door. I'll have a ticket for that.
Yeah, and then the Rainbow Six with this situation of a 9-race card. We start in race number 4, starting to build $15,000 plus. Had a couple of horses alive yesterday. It's been very exciting. It looked like they might have nailed it yesterday, but it didn't come through. The favorite won the last race, so we'll see how that works out. Still nice payoffs in those Rainbow Six if you don't get that one unique ticket.
And just a 20-cent wager, and we rounded out the day, like always, starting in race number 5 with the 50-cent late pick 5, and I'll have a ticket for that as well.
Well, our first race this afternoon is a 5-furlong turf event. It's a claimer for 3-year-olds and up. Non-winners of 2 in life, $8,000. We have 8 runners in this field. As we mentioned, we'll have the rolling super high five. No scratches or jockey changes. In case I know you have a early pick 5 ticket, excuse me. I always want to get that Rainbow 6 ticket.
So excited about the Rainbow 6, but the early pick 5 starts right here. $36 for me today. My single comes in race number 4, and that's going to be with Queen de Valet, who's looking for 4th win in a row. Passed on the Jessamine Stakes over at Keeneland. Going to be running here. I think that she should get that 4th win in a row here today. So it's going to hinge on that. You see I went 4 deep in the second race and the 5th, but 2 deep in this opener.
Well, race number 4 a little later on when we talk about it, that was my single in my Rainbow Six. So we both have the same single today. That very rarely happens. I started an off in here with the horse on the outside, and that's Monkey Money, who finished 3rd on the turf at this level in distance back in July. Now turning back to 5 furlongs. But I want to go back and show you the horse's start last time out. I thought this horse lost all chance. That was in the start of a $10,000 claimer going 7.5 furlongs. So you're just going to see this horse here on the outside. That's the number 10 Monkey Money, just rears at the start and basically is eliminated in the start. Doesn't get too far back, but I just thought that was enough. I like this horse better at the 5 furlong distance. So and I just thought of that performance, trained by Monty Thomas, ridden by Raul Mena. So a Monkey Money on top of my ticket, but certainly going to use the horse that you have on top.
Well, I went with the number 2, Vienna on top. Has a lot of speed in here. We saw speed favoring really well yesterday on the turf. We keep mentioning this, and it looks like, especially as we said, on the turf, having that early speed is going to be beneficial for you. I like Monkey Money in this spot. I agree with a little bit of the turn back in distance. 2 back actually crossed the wire 3rd at the 5 furlong. That was on a sloppy track taken off the turf. Disqualified and placed 8th and reared at the start last time out. So I don't know if this is exactly going to be a single type or one that you can really trust the most in here. And so I opted for the speed. Was well beaten last time out, but that was on the dirt. That's 2VN, now back over on the turf.
Yeah, and if you look at the 2VN's past performance, this horse couldn't have scripted an easier spot to turn back to this distance this afternoon. So I just thought that, the dirt race will put a line through that, and I think this is a good spot to go back to the lawn for that one. I used the number 1 and 3rd, and that's It's Robin, is wheeling back in just 6 days and adding blinkers after finishing 6th in his local debut. That was against $10,000 2 lifetime claimers, Carlos Oliveira being settled. One of the horses I have pegged in for a minor award this afternoon, coming back on that short rest. 6 days, we'll see what happens with that.
Well, I could see certainly with the addition of the blinkers in there. I went with the number 5, Moonstricking, who intrigues me here. Just hesitated at the start last time out. I think you put a line through that race. It's Matt Rispoli in the saddle again. It's actually his birthday today, we saw.
That's right.
And this one also taking a drop in class as well. And I think that class drop, this one might be a sneaky, has some speed as well. If he gets a clean break in here, might be one at a little bit of a price.
Let's see if you can do that, what Bill Mott does, win a race horse on his birthday every year. It didn't happen for Bill Mott this year, but maybe it'll happen for Matt Rispoli once again. Happy birthday to him. And I think that the race goes through to 2.
Yeah.
I really believe that's what happens in race number 1 this afternoon. And now let's go to race number 2, 1 mile and 1/16th on the turf. These are maiden special weight 2-year-olds. Really nice race here. We got 10 runners in here. I went with the number 2 on top. Amped Up. You went with the number 8 horse in here, who I did not use. Well, I actually used it on the bottom part of my ticket. Pure Synergy.
Well, this is a maiden special weight race, and Pure Synergy has actually crossed the wire first, which none of the others in here have done, but it was actually disqualified and placed 5th. That last race was $50,000 maiden claimers. It was actually a pretty solid field of runners, but that race just totally fell apart. There was a disqualification of the winner backing up there. A horse was eased. One horse clipped heels and lost the rider, so it was just you can put a line through that race, but it looked like there was just Luca Panici was in the saddle that day as well. He had so much horse underneath him that day. I think that even now back into special weight company, now going to be a little bit of a stretch out on the turf. This one looks like he might be able to get a win.
Yeah, and you go back and all the trouble he had to list, sort of like a lateral move. It's not like he's jumping up,
Yeah.
you know, big. I mean, $50,000 just a spot where they had entered him last time out. So, you know, logical one. I do have it on the ticket, just not on top. I did go with the number 2, Amped Up, who's debuting locally with Lasix added after showing promise. That was in its mile in the 16 turf debut up at Saratoga. He finished the willing the 3rd. The trainer is Eric Eo, and he's got Tyler Gaffleone in the saddle. Eric Eo down here for our winter meeting, our fall meeting here at Gulfstream Park West, and going to carry that over to Gulfstream Park.
Well, this horse had the rail in his Saratoga debut. I don't know if he necessarily liked that in there. It was running against some really classy horses in that as well. He's run at the mile in a 16th distance already, which I certainly like. Finished that good 3rd there, so we'll see if he can transfer that form over to South Florida.
Well, a really interesting horse in here is the number 9, and that's Jem Hollister. This one is a half brother to a $1.2 million earner called Ruth Arian, one of my favorite horses, trained by, I think it was. I forget it was. I'll get back to that in a second. And a $300,000 plus earner that made $300, and that is Ruth Arena. So these 2 horses, I love the breeding on. This one's backward maiden, surrendered a 3.5 length lead when finishing 3rd. That was in the $75,000 armed forces. This horse goes from maiden special weight into stakes, back to maiden special weight, all over the place. The trainer's Jaime Mejia. And you know, Eddie Castro in the saddle. I think this horse is certainly classy enough to win in this spot.
Definitely has the breeding and has some early speed as well. I thought ran a respectable 3rd in the armed forces last time out. Didn't really take too much money. I think might take a little bit more attention today, and looks like this is going to be a spot where he might be able to finally get that maiden win after running in a grade 2 and multiple stakes. Also used the number 3 Tipsy Kitten, who's a first-time starter for Mike Maker. Emisale Jaramillo going to be in the saddle. We mentioned this yesterday. Trainer Mike Maker, not necessarily known for first-time starters, just about 7%, but this one's another very nicely bred 2-year-old in here by Kitten's Joy. We'll give a sire stat on Kitten's Joy in the past 5 years with 2-year-olds on the turf. 82 for 451. That's an 18% win average. So he's here about superstar turf sire Kitten's Joy, and this one been working very nicely. Had a couple really nice a bullet 5 furlong work, 2 back going a minute flat and 4, and so looks like this one's going to come in looking pretty solid for debut.
Yeah, and you know, owned by Ken and Sarah Ramsey, who had all the success with those Kitten Joys, and it's a half to a couple of graded stakes place runners called Artemis Kitten and Redwood Kitten. Christophe Clement is who trained Ruth Arian. I knew I'd get it. It just didn't come out. I was waiting for you to finish so I could tell everybody it was Christophe Clement. So, you know, I think we have those same horses up there, just flip-flop around over there. I went with the 2, you went with the 8. I can understand the 8 totally in that spot, but I'm going to hang my hat on this Saratoga shipper with Eric Eo. I think he gets his first win here with this horse this afternoon. Let's go to race number 3. 7 furlongs, maiden claimers, 2-year-olds, $16,000 down to $14,000. One scratch in here of the number 5, and that is Hutchison Road. We both went with the number 3, Bank on John.
Well, with this one, hasn't run in about 3 months. Last ran on July 22nd with the outside post as the favorite for Kathleen O'Connell. That was against $25,000 maidens. Finished 4th that day, a little bit wide in that trip. Now coming off a little bit of a break. Very solid work tab right here at Gulfstream Park West. and a bit of a drop in class.
Yeah, got that ready for the return with that half-mile bullet work over this track. So you think their Bank on John looks like the logical contender, and it will be dealing with a 6-horse feeling here. I went with the number 7, Daddy's Teller in second, stretching out to this 7-furlong distance after responding last time out to a drop in competition. Ran an improved third that day against this level of competition that was going 3/4 of a mile. Looks like a logical contender in there, along with the number 6, Guerrero.
I think that both of those, as you mentioned, logical contenders in here. The number 6, Guerrero, finished a well-beaten third last time out, beaten about 9.5 lengths, but finished a solid second in his debut. A couple nice in-the-money finishes. That was against 12-5 claimers. I don't think it's too much of a step up in competition for him in here today. Bank on John is certainly going to take a lot of money, but he's coming off that little bit of a break.
And when you're dealing with this level of competition, maiden 16, even down to 12-5, consistency is always an important angle, and this horse has been just that consistent. I would not leave that horse off the ticket. With that said, race number 3 is in the bank. We will take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Rainbow 6.
Next January, 12 horses, $1 million buy-in for a $12 million purse. It is the world's richest race. It is the Pegasus World Cup.
Welcome back for race number 4, 7.5 furlongs on the turf. Starter optional claimer, fillies 2-year-olds. Well, they can run for that optional claiming tag of $35,000. One scratch here of the number 1, Ventia, and please note the jockey on the number 8 horse is Marcos Meneses, and we'll see how this race plays out. And you mentioned this was your single in your early pick 5 and my single in the Rainbow 6. And let's quickly go to my tick, and you'll see here. And I just think that Queen del Valle is certainly the one to beat in here. 3 deep, 2, 4, and 3. If this one wins, we got the chance to add more horses through the rest of the Rainbow 6 sequence. And Queen del Valle certainly has been on fire on the turf.
Yeah, she has finished a solid third in her debut, and that was on the dirt, was claimed and moved over into the Reed Nagel barn and tried the turf. 2 wins at the 5-furlong distance. She stretched out to the 2 turns to going 7.5 at Gulfstream Park last time. Ended up getting that distance no problem. She won by 3, and as I mentioned earlier, she passed on the Jessamine over at Keeneland. I think she should win easy here.
Yeah, she was going to break from the 13 post in the Jessamine and was 50-1 on the morning line. Certainly going to be odds on here. Let's go back and show you that last performance. This one when she notched her 3rd consecutive victory, and you made a good point. This was stretching out, and you can just see how easy she does it here. She's turned it for home. She is the number 3, and you can't miss it because she's on the lead, and she just cruises away at this distance, and it looks like she's just out for a Sunday jiggy jog over there. Shows her the whip a little bit, and she just cruises to the victory. It's a nice horse. I don't know, after this, I think she's got to go to stakes competition.
I would think so, especially as she's had the 3 wins in a row. If distance was any sort of question, she certainly, as we saw there in that performance, showed that 2 turns was no problem for her at all. In that race, I actually, and it looks like you have it too, have them running in the same order. Shack Up, who's the number 6 in here, finished 2nd behind Queen del Valle last time out, again beaten 3 lengths. You see, it was really just a competition for who was going to run 2nd. I think that Shack Up certainly has a good shot in this spot here today for 2nd.
Yeah, trained by Mark Cassie, ridden by Tyler Gaffleone, as you mentioned, it's a daughter of Shackelford. And once again, we got our 3rd and 4th flip-flop a little bit. I went with the 2 Spicy. Was given some time off after finishing a distant 3rd, but it was behind a very impressive winner that day called Taco at this level and distance. Was back on August 12th. Ronnie Werner, Nick Juarez handling the return to action this afternoon.
Yeah, those top 3 finishers were really spread out there that day from that performance, and so I think it was kind of like a best of the rest type thing there. And as you said, taking a little bit of time off now, and I rounded it out with the number 8, Beauty of a Day, who who was third last time behind Shack Up and Queen de Valet.
Well, let's go to race number 5 this afternoon. This one is a 6-furlong claimer. Fillies Advanced 3-year-olds and up, $6,250. This kicks off our late pick 5 this afternoon. Acacia, you have a ticket.
I do. No single for me in the late pick 5 here today, as I was able to find my early pick 5 single. $54, a little bit more expensive here. I thought these were some pretty competitive races. As you said, you went a little bit deeper in some of the later races on because you were able to find that single in the first leg of the Rainbow Six. If you compare down any of these races here, certainly that's going to be the key. Race number 7 is a really exciting one for me. I really like a horse, Fort Liberty, who's 6-1 on the morning line. So we'll see if I can get a little bit of prices in the late pick 5.
Yeah, I didn't use that one on my ticket. I didn't go 3 deep in only that particular race. So as usual, we'll be banging heads here later on to see whose ticket comes in. And now you make the decisions. You look at both our tickets and see who you're going to use. How'd you start it off in here with the number 2, Unknown?
I went with Unknown in here, who's looking to get the second win in a row. It has had back-to-back victories before. Those were a couple starts back. Well beaten 2 back. Just kind of showed a little bit of early interest and kind of backed up. Came back last time out with Tyler Gaffleone in the saddle. Certainly no knock against Edgar Zayas, who rode her 2 back, but sometimes a jockey just seems to fit a horse really well, and it looks like Tyler Gaffleone does fit this horse well in this spot. Is kind of looking at the rest of the field, and I didn't really want some of the other ones that I had as an option on top, so I landed on this one to get 2 in a row.
Well, you know, that the horse Unknown, trained by Gustavo Delgado, but also trains the horse that I had on top of my ticket, and you have a third, and that's Coco's Cat, turning back to 3/4 of a mile after losing a tough one by a nose. That was going 6.5 furlongs last time out. You know, she has the tactical speed, I believe, to overcome the post outside. I think she has the ability to get a nice position in there and run well at this 6-furlong distance. So Coco's Cat, you know, we got the logical 3, and you used these 3 that we both we're going to talk about on your late pick 5 ticket. The other one being the number 7, Twinkling Time.
Well, Twinkling Time is the horse that beat Coco's Cat by a nose last time out, so I guess a little bit of a rematch for them here today. Both of these horses seem to show some early interest, and that was another reason for me thinking that the number 2, Unknown, might sit a pretty good trip behind any sort of potential speed in this race. Doesn't need to be too far back, but can be just behind the speed. So I thought Twinkling Time certainly one to use, and I rounded out with the number 8, Skirts on Fire, who's moving back over to the dirt and dropping in class.
Yeah, just going back to Twinkling Time, a couple of things I like. A multiple winner on this track. I like that. And if you go way back, you see this horse has been able to put together multiple victories. You close it out. I went with the number 4, and then BL's Wagon, trying to wake this horse up again. I used to love this horse. I just can't seem to get him to the winner's circle anymore. But someone I'm certainly going to put on my super high 5 ticket, or my, rolling the super high 5 ticket, or my exact or trifecta. Let's go to race number 6 this afternoon. 5 furlongs on the turf. Fillies and mares 3 and up. Allowance optional claimer. They can run for that optional claiming tag of $25,000. Scratch the main track only participant, number 10, Competitive Player. And I think this is a pretty fun race.
It is a fun race. This is definitely an exciting betting race as well. We both landed on the number 4, I Will Be Free, who had the rail last time out and finished a respectable second. I want to go back and show that race. This was back on August 25th. Nick Juarez is going to be in the saddle today. As I said, had the rail. You see, just kind of veers in at the start. So we'll watch the break here. Bumps in a little bit into the other horses, then kind of settles a bit there. We're going to cut to coming out of the turn. There was no catching the winner that day, Summer Rae, but I thought that given that awkward start there, the number 1, I Will Be Free, ran pretty valiantly to be second there. You see that she just keeps trying and trying and trying to hold on any sort of bid from the rest of the field. Again, no catching the winner, but given that awkward break that she had in Kitriv.
Pretty consistent campaign across town. She won 2 races at the distance, was second in the other 2 against the same caliber. So she's in good form, and I think she's the logical one. Now, I went with the number 1 and second, and it is Shaka Khan. I like saying that.
It's fun to say, yeah.
Who broke her maiden at first casting. That was going 5 furlongs. It was back in July 2015. It's going back to the grass after setting a pressured pace and failing to finish 4th behind a repeat stakes winner, and that's called R. Kinsley Dahl. That was in the 6 furlong, $150,000 3-ring stakes. Ralph Nix, another win yesterday. Renitz's daughter of Gone Astray with Tyler Gaffleone, who was aboard for that debut turf victory. So there's proof that this horse can run well on the turf at this distance. Classes up perfectly in here, knocking heads with stakes competition. I like this horse to be somewhere on the ticket. I'll give it a big shot.
Yeah, she's 1 for 1 on the turf, 1 for 1 at the distance, and 1 for 1 with Tyler Gaffleone on the turf. So we'll see if all of those things can come back together. As you said, ran pretty solidly in stakes company last time out. I also used the number 8 Belladini, who won very impressively last time when cutting back in distance to this 5 furlongs on the turf. Won by 5 1/4 against $10,000 claimers. So it's a step up in here, and Tyler Gaffleone opts instead to ride the number 1 Shaka Khan. But I thought that Belladini is certainly coming in good form.
I was afraid that she might be too cheap in the spot, that the following score was at the $10,000 level, and I'm talking about Shaka Khan, who was in, a stakes race last time out, but certainly that last race was very impressive. So did use it on my ticket. I just wasn't sold to have it on my, for top 2, but certainly going to use it somewhere on my trifecta ticket this afternoon. I keep getting those tickets all mixed up. I want to bet
so many options.
I want to bet so many things that I just can't keep track of them all. The 7th race is a 6 furlong maiden special weight state bred 2-year-olds, and we do have one jockey change in here, and it comes on the number 5 Make the Ride, and Nick Juarez. And I went with a first-time starter in here, and that is the number 7 Santi Knows Best, who's the son of Big Drama, and the second foal from the dam on the Dole, debuting for trainer David Forks. What I like was this solid 5 furlong workout showing, includes a recent half-mile bullet in a minute flat, breezing from the gate. I want to go back and show you a stat over the last 5 years with trainer David Forks with 2-year-old first-time starters in maiden special weight on the dirt, 8 for 56, 14%, 39% in the money, and $1.08 ROI, and we're being attacked here by bugs. And I just thought, I like the workout pattern. I thought maybe this was the shot. I like this horse so much, I sort of made it my best bet this afternoon. I think this horse is going to run that well first time out.
Yeah, he certainly looks like he's going to be coming with both guns blazing off of those 5 furlong work tab, and I think that certainly I have to respect connections in here. I mentioned earlier that I really liked a horse who was 6 to 1 in the morning line, and that's the 10 Fort Liberty. Finished a good second last time out, and I want to go back and show that race. It was a 1 to 2 winner. Here comes the dude, but this horse did not have the easiest of trips. He's the number 4 that day. And you see here, he's mid-pack. He ends up just having to steady back a little bit. All of a sudden, he's at the back of the pack, really. There's just one trailer, and he's only in front of one horse. You see here, now he has to steady just a little bit. Tyler Gaffleone pulls up just on him a bit. He has to end up going around and go wide, and he comes running, and he comes on very strongly. Again, now you see him there, the number 4. He just passes every horse one by one when having to steady back there. Again, couldn't catch that 1 to 2 winner. Here comes the dude, who was out front and had an easier trip the entire time. But I really think that this horse is eligible to improve.
Yeah, and great connections, as we've been mentioning here, all summer long, actually, with Ralph Nixon, Tyler Gaffleone. Now, number 5 horse in here, Storming in May, is debuting locally against a state-bred competition after returning to action at Monmouth and finishing second. It was a 5 furlong maiden special weight test that was moved from the grass to the main track. The trainer is Ed Pleasant Jr. Eddie back in many, many years here at Gulfstream Park West. So he's here, and we mentioned that's where the jockey change comes. Nick Juarez in the saddle, so Storming my way on my ticket, also on your ticket.
Well, last race was an impressive second, beaten just by half a length, but it was one taken off the turf. Maybe a little bit of moisture that day over at Monmouth. Didn't really do any running, dwelt at the start in his debut, maybe put a line through that race. We'll see how he does now coming over to South Florida. I also threw on the number 9 Ramcat, who again had a sloppy track in his debut, but I thought ran a solid 3rd.
So we got the return of Eddie Pleasant Jr. You got your trouble call horse in here, and I'm going with a first-time starter, and that is what you call an eclectic mix there in race number 7.
Makes it more interesting.
Right. The 8th race this afternoon, 7 1/2 furlongs, turf starter, optional claimer, 2-year-olds. That optional claiming level is $35,000, and as it always is, either at Gulfstream Park West and certainly at Gulfstream Park, we got these full fields on the turf, and we're going to deal with 10 runners in here with no scratches or jockey changes in the race, and we both went with the number 7 Toast the Kitten.
Well, this one actually crossed the wire second last time, beaten just a nose, was bumped up to first through the disqualification of Whiskey Train, who went on to win his next start, get an honest victory next time out, if you will. And I saw that horse just ended up bumping through the field there that day. But Toast the Kitten has quite a bit of speed as well, and I think that that's going to be good for him in here.
Yeah, and I mean, he was certainly flattered when Armed Forces came back. Whiskey Train came back to win the Armed Forces, so had it on top of my ticket like you. Now you went to the number 10 in second, and I did not use this horse, and I want to hear why.
Well, this one moved over to the turf last time out, and I want to give a trainer stat on Antonio Sano in the past 5 years with horses that broke their maiden last time out on the turf. He's 6 for 49, just 12% win, but 16 for 49, 33% of the time in the money, and a positive ROI, which you don't often expect to see for Antonio Sano, so especially this kind of move going for back-to-back victories. 215 for the ROI. His horse is usually pretty well bet. Looked like this one really woke up moving over to the turf and gets Emmy-Stale Jaramillo in the saddle today.
Yeah, I had a concern about the outside post, so I didn't throw him in there, and use him on my ticket, but I can understand you made a good case for him. But I did go with the number 9 in second, who you have in fourth, and that is my friend. He's moving to the turf after keeping his record unblemished when following his debut $35,000 maiden score with a neck victory over $35,000 optional claimers, going 6 furlongs on the main track. Is there a concern? The turf breeding didn't really jump off the page at me, so turf breeding, but certainly hasn't done anything wrong yet.
Hasn't done anything wrong. It does have a couple of siblings that won on the turf. He would actually be the first turf winner for sire Stay Thirsty, who's 0 for 16 with his turf runners, his 2-year-old turf runners, that is. So we'll see if he can be the first for Stay Thirsty to get that win on the turf, but as you said, hasn't done anything wrong in terms of ability in his 2 starts. I also used the number 6, Mug's-O-Matic, for Kathleen O'Connell, another one who's trying the turf for the first time.
Yeah, and the one Leverkusen who I threw my ticket, I just want to mention his horse. He's stepping up against winners after parlaying a strong closing kick to a 3.5-length victory over $25,000 maidens at the distance. I thought it was a nice performance, and this is the next level step up the competition ladder. Maybe this horse can grab a share in there. A bit of a price on the board, I think 10 to 1 or something like
15
that.
to 1
15 to 1 on the morning line. So that is the number 1 Leverkusen. So we'll see how that one works out. Now we have a 9-race card. So race number 9 will be our last live race of the day. See how that works out?
Wow.
Yeah, see? 7.5 furlongs on the turf. Maiden claim is fillies and mares 3 and up. $16,000. Scratch the number 11 Megatoni. We're still dealing with 10 runners in here. We do not make it easy for you to get the final rolling super high five of the afternoon. But once again, fun wagering here with full fields. Number 4, Ecliptical My Way, on top both our tickets.
Well, I thought that there were 2 horses with a big shot in here, and that's the 4, Ecliptical My Way, and the 7, She Told You. Both opted for the 4 on top. Finished third against $20,000 maidens last time, so a little bit of a drop in class now to the $16,000 level. I liked that race last time out. Fist Bump was the big favorite that day, the winner of that race, and cutting back slightly in distance to the 7.5 as well.
Yeah, and ridden today by Tyler Gaffalione, trained by Mike Gates, so lots to like the reasons that you used it, one of the reasons I put it on top. But you're right about the number 7, She Told You. Has shown some problems sprinting on the grass, is going back to the turf today, stretching out around 2 turns to figure as part of the pace scenario in here. We've been mentioning speed has been okay on the turf course. It's not, automatic if you got speed, you win. That's not the case, but the trainers Joe Hennessy, Matthew Rispoli, the birthday boy, in the saddle this afternoon. So this horse, I think, is going to be up there part of the pace.
Yeah, it really will be in last time, but that was down the dirt and against special weight company, so I think that this is the right spot for this 3-year-old filly in here.
And who else did you use?
Well, I also used the number 5, Big Darling, another one dropping in class. This one for trainer Joe Catanese. Trying the turf for the first time as well by Big Drama, who's about 18% with 3-year-olds on the turf and adding the blinkers.
Well, number 1, Ella's Dreaming, now in the Ian Hemingway barn. It's the daughter first dude, returning to action, races with the blinkers off to merit, a spot on, at least in my estimation, somewhere on the exotic ticket. So Luca Panici in the saddle today. I think he carves out a trip behind the speed and maybe grabs a share of the exact trifecta or superfecta wagering.
You can grab a chair, too. Never know.
Our teeth are coming out. I went to say so. Yeah, race number 9. So I think we pretty much covered what we think is going to happen this afternoon.
Right, or at least we tried. And I want to remind you, as always, that all simulcasts and amenities are available across town at Gulfstream Park. Good luck with all your wagers today.
What do I love about horse racing? Everything.